Shabbat Shalom. Shalom. So around this time, about 11 years ago in 2015, my favorite mini-series of all time came out. It was a 10-part mini-series on USA Network called Dig. Did anyone else watch? No, maybe. Yeah, okay, I got it. Someone. I'll tell you about the series. I won't ruin all of it because maybe you'll want to go, onto it's on like Amazon Prime or Netflix or one of those places. You might want to go watch it after Shabbat. But it was a show called Dig on USA Network, and the whole premise, it was a murder mystery, and the whole premise of the show was about this archaeological dig site in Jerusalem. There was a lot of filming that was done in Jerusalem. And there was a Mossad agent and a CIA agent, and they're trying to solve this murder mystery and around this whole big case. But it's ultimately really about this group, right? I don't want to ruin the whole show for you, but it's ultimately really about this group that is trying to rebuild the third temple. Right? And they're trying to get a red heifer that has no blemishes on it. They end up getting it from Croatia. It's like this whole big thing. It's this crazy intermixing things. I happen to love murder mysteries, and I happen to love Israel. So it was a good combination of a show for me. But their whole premise is this crazy group that wants to rebuild the third temple. And why do they want to rebuild the third temple? Because that's what we're supposed to do as a people, right? We're supposed to be building a third temple because that's what we were told for, hundreds and hundreds of years after the destruction of the temple. Of course, we know realistically we're not rebuilding a third temple unless something really, really absolutely crazy goes on in our world. But I think this show was built, it's a very compelling show. It really has you going, you want to binge watch it, watch one episode after another. And the reason why it was one of my favorite shows was because it reminded me of our past and how we have evolved as a people at the same time, right? That we aren't longing for this building of the third temple, and yet we can sort of laugh at parts in the show that there are people at these archaeological sites that maybe they would actually want to rebuild a third temple. And there are a few maybe extremists out in our world that would still like to see that happen. In our Haftarah this morning from the book of Ezekiel, Ezekiel goes through all the steps that we're supposed to do when we are rebuilding and have another temple. Now, of course, Ezekiel is writing after the destruction of the first temple, before we have a second temple. But Ezekiel goes through exactly how we are supposed to make a sacrifice, how we're supposed to cut the animal, and where we're supposed to put the blood, right? And you read it today, and you're like, ugh, this is what we're reading. This is what we're reading. This is what we're going through. Right? It feels a little outdated, perhaps, for us. But in Ezekiel's time, right, he's trying to console people who had done things one way, right, for hundreds of years, and try to get them excited and looking forward to what would happen next, right? And in every generation, right, we have been persecuted as a Jewish people. In every generation, someone's come after us. Someone's tried to destroy us. And throughout history, most of the time, if a group had a singular place like the temple where they would go and worship, and that was destroyed, that would be the end of the people, right? We know our history, right? We know the Babylonians aren't here anymore, the ancient Greeks aren't here anymore, the ancient Romans aren't here anymore, right? The Assyrians, I could go through the whole litany. They're all gone. And yet somehow, our Jewish people are still here, right? We're sitting here in Shul on Shabbat. It's pretty amazing. And Ezekiel, what is Ezekiel trying to do? Ezekiel is trying to ensure, right, that we have something to look forward to, that we know that there's going to be a tomorrow for our people. Now, Ezekiel, of course, is describing it with all of these things to do of how to make the sacrifices, and maybe these people from the show Dig got some ideas from it along the way. But what we do as a people today is we always still look forward. We're always thinking about what can we do next to ensure our survival as a people. I couldn't help but think about this as we went through the events of this past week. Rabbi Scoff, I know, mentioned earlier, right, there were actually more attacks on synagogues this past week than there were days in the week, right? And of course, our biggest focus was on the synagogue in Michigan, which I actually had the opportunity to go and visit a year and a half ago when I was in the Detroit area. And we're thinking about, this could have been us, right? We have a preschool here, right? Some crazy person could have driven right up to our synagogue here as well. And yet, right, we show up today, right? We have security, right? And we're very grateful to the security that we have because it was due to the security that no one was harmed, right, in Michigan this past week. But it's not just that we have security. We feel maybe a little more secure because we have a policeman that we get to greet on our way in the door. But we show up because it's who we are as a Jewish people. It's what we've done for centuries, right? If you go through Jewish history, right, the first temple is destroyed, and instead of just basically wilting away and assimilating into Babylonian society, right, we long for rebuilding a second temple, but we sort of reinvent ourselves in the process. Then we build a second temple. We have that for a few hundred years. The Romans destroy the second temple, and then we completely reinvent ourselves again, right? And say, no, we're not going to let that event define us. We're going to keep going. And again, through the Crusades, through the Spanish Inquisition, right, we were persecuted. We lost many of our people along the way, right, going all the way up through the Holocaust, right? Horrible moments where most other groups would have simply said, yeah, we're done. We're out, right? And instead, we use it to fuel us and say, no, we're not going to let this define us. And we're living through a moment in time as a Jewish people where we are being persecuted again. And it's really challenging when you're living in it, right? And I can only imagine, right, thinking back to the time of Ezekiel, what it must have felt like to lose the temple, right? This central location, this central place where we brought our sacrifices, and all of a sudden it's gone. And you're thinking to yourself, what are we going to do? And Ezekiel is trying to remind the people there will be a tomorrow. And I'm here to remind us that there will also be a tomorrow for us as a Jewish people as well. We are living through this moment, particularly these last couple of years since October 7th, where it feels like every day, right, there's someone out to get us. Every day we hear about another attack on a Jewish institution. Every day we hear about another attack on someone and something in our homeland in the state of Israel. And yet here we are, right? We're still here and we're showing up, right? We're here at Shul. We're here together as a Kehillah, as a community. And so my hope and prayer for us is that we remind ourselves there will be a tomorrow. I can't promise you exactly what tomorrow will look like, because we're going to be needing to reinvent ourselves in some way as we move forward as a people as well. But I can assure us, just like we've been here for the last few thousand years, that we will be here for the next few thousand years as well. And we will be together as a people, and we will figure out how we can do this together as a people as well as we stand up against our enemies in this moment in time. So, Am Yisrael Chai, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat